welcome to the Hockey Show brought to you by the Purple Rain Podcast. So, it is time to get these report cards well and truly underway. This is something we do on the main show with the PHL teams, where at the end of the season we just look back on their performance and we just talk about what we felt about it, what went right, what went wrong. So we're going to do that for all the Olympic nations. We're doing it in the reverse order of the final rankings. So on the previous episode, we did the team that came in 10th in the rankings. So we're now going to do the team that came 9th in the rankings. So let's bring that up. So the team that finished 9th in the rankings was Japan. So across their 4 games, Japan had 1 regulation win, no overtime wins, no overtime losses, and 3 regulation losses. And that is where the damage was done. That is where the damage was done. So look at their goal differential. They scored 7 goals, conceded 14. That's a goal differential of -7, and they only got 3 points. Oi, 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 oi. Oi, 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 oi. Where do I start? Where do I even begin with a team like Japan? Where do I even begin? Okay. Because in prior Olympics, Japan have done very, very well in not just qualifying for them, but also managing to get at least into the knockout stages of them. But then they just kind of faltered the quarters. And yet this time, if they would probably agree with me, this time I kind of felt I saw a different team from Japan compared to what I've been used to for the past 16 years. There was just no fight. There was literally no fight in Japan. There was no fight. And let's not forget, that lone win was against Team France. But did the Japanese had to fight to get that win in regulation. Because that game, I remember it well, that game looked like it was on course to go to overtime, and France was able to get a point out of that, and that would help boost their confidence. But Japan got a very late dagger in regulation to seal the deal. So Japan had to fight for that result. In their other 3 games, where was the fight? Where was the fight? There was no fight against Germany, and there was no fight against Italy! There was no fight against Italy of all teams! Because that's another game I remember very well, and I think for me, that is going to be the game that sealed it for Japan. Because in that game, we remember it very well, in that game, if Italy had got the full 3 points, that would have put them in striking distance of reaching the quarterfinals. Now, Italy played very well that game. They took a lot of control. And Japan, while you did get that goal to cut the deficit in half, you then didn't fight hard to get the second goal. Because that made it just 2-1. You were still down a goal. You still need another goal to force the overtime session. It was like, where was the fight? Where was the fight? Where's the extra attacker? What is going on here? Do you want to make quarters? Do you want to go to the quarterfinals? So very well done, Italy. And in the last game of the tournament was against Sweden. Now, the situation was very, very clear. Japan needed to win that game outright to stand any chance of going to the quarterfinals. Because if Japan had got the 3 points over Sweden, and then Germany Italy's game finished the way it did, then I think by that virtue, Japan probably would have had enough points to then overtake Italy and get that third spot in Group B and go to the quarters. I think. Don't quote me on it. My maths is not great. Okay, plus tiebreak as well. Okay, but no, in that game, Japan did nothing. And Pluto literally pointed out, it's like there's no this. He literally was looking at it. There's no fight from them. There's no fight, and yet they know. Surely they know how important this game is, right? And it was the first. And also it was the first game. It was the last game of the group stage. It was the first game on the card. And then Italy Joe will go for afterwards. So Italy would already have known by the time they got to their game if they were in or out. And they were so in. They were so in. But yeah, Japan in that game against Sweden, I'm so glad I put it there, not because I'm about to use something rude. In that game against Sweden, Japan basically just rolled over and died like a dog. They basically just played dead. Basically, it's like you just say to Japan, sit, roll over, play dead. That is. I know that's bad. That was basically Japan went against Sweden. That's basically what we saw with Japan against Sweden. It's almost like the coach said, right, sit, roll over, play dead. They did that for 60 minutes, for the full 6 minutes, all 3 periods. No! Fight! Fight! Yes, it's a tough matchup against Sweden, you know, the best team in Group B. But at least try. At least try. Fight. Czechia showed more fight in the quarters against Sweden than you did in the group stages. And Czechia's ranked higher than Sweden in the rankings. There was no fight from Japan in these games. And yet we all know the Japanese are famous for their martial arts. Okay? I'm even a third dan in one of their martial arts. Okay? So I know the Japanese can fight when they want to. It's just in this one you didn't do it. I mean, only 7 goals. That's only 3 more than France. That's only 3 more than France. So it's like, just where was the fight in Japan? Where was the fight in Japan? You know, and Japan in the last few World Championships, they've been very, very close to relegation. Maybe have been, but that there've been a few times where they've come very close to being knocked out of the top tier. I feel me and you kind of feel they're just one more away from potentially falling out. Yes, we have got a new relegation system in place for the top tier, but Japan, you're skating on very, very thin ice. In fact, if we look at Japan and look at their record over the years, okay, I believe Japan has made every single game. Go all the way back to 1998. Okay, so in fact, let's just look that up now, shall we? Oh no! Oh no! So they were in 1998, but they didn't come back until 2014. Wow. Okay. So they've been every Olympics since 2014. So Sochi, Pyeongchang, Beijing, and now most recently Milan Cortina. In fact, Milan Cortina is their worst performance because in Milan Cortina they're ranked 9th. Wow. So they've only been in 5 Olympics. Wow. Wow. Okay. Wow. Only 5. And with so many more nations now on the rise, Japan, you need to be so careful. Because chances are they'll have to go through qualification again in a few years' time. But with so many more nations who are literally trying to, you know, put themselves there, could Japan's place get taken? I think so. Because honestly, I bet there's going to be a lot of nations who have looked at Japan's performance and thought, we could have done better than that. You know, maybe Hungary, maybe? Or Norway, who thought we could have maybe done better than that. And we saw them last year in Czechia. Because, of course, last year Hungary and Norway were in that group with Japan and Germany and Sweden in the Worlds last year. And I bet those 2 nations are thinking, we could have done better than Japan and Milan Cortina. If we just got there, we could have done a lot better than them. Yeah. But I kind of feel for the Japanese, I kind of feel their luck is now well and truly running out. Because that was a pitiful performance. That was a pitiful performance in Milan Cortina. And it's the thing, going into the Olympics, me and Lady were both kind of confident that there was going to be a shock in Group B. Because obviously going into the Olympics, we didn't really know how Italy or France were going to fare. But we thought maybe Italy just might, because we had a lot of confidence with their bench staff, we kind of thought Italy just maybe might be able to cause a ruckus. And we thought it was going to be Germany they would take out, not Japan. But wow, I honestly going into the games, I did not see Japan getting knocked out in the groups. I did not see that, because they've always managed at the very least find a way to get into the quarters in their previous four. They've always found a way to get at least quarters. So the fact that this time they don't even get out the starting block, they fall in the groups. That is a huge shock to the system. And I think you will look back at that and you will feel very disappointed with how you performed, because it was a very woeful performance. It was a pathetic display. Where was your fight in these games? Where was that grit? Where was that determination? Where was that will to succeed? I didn't see it. And in all the other teams, at least at one point during the tournament, I saw the fight. I saw the fire. I saw the determination in their eyes. Japan, nothing. Like, literally, sayonara, nothing. You gave me nothing in this tournament. Okay? You just performed so badly. You know, the fact that a team like France, who had never been in Olympics before, remember, this was France's debut, the fact a team like France got so close to taking a team like Japan into overtime says it all. Said it all. France got so close to taking points off Japan. Now, that would not have changed anything for France, but it would have harmed Japan a lot more, and it meant that you would have had to play the rest of your games with a lot more desperation, and a lot more than you did. Not that you even knew how to play desperate hockey. You know, it was just. I mean, that last group game against me was so dull, and it was the early morning game. It was the first game on the card, so it was quite hard at various points to try and keep the eyes open, even though it literally only just gone up. It was the first game of the morning. It's like, bloody hell. Give me something. You know, it was just, no. That was just like, there's nothing. Japan showed no attack. No determination there at all. Okay? They just let Sweden just run circles around them. That is not what you want. That is not what you want. So, it's going to be really interesting when we get to World Championships to see how is this team going to do. How the hell is this team going to perform? I do not know. I do not know. So, it will be very interesting when we get to Worlds. Remember, how is he going to do it? Because I'm not confident in Japan's performance. And, oh, guess what? You're going to be seeing Sweden again. Okay? But I think, yes, Sweden is the only team from Japan's Olympic group that's going to be in their group with them. Because Germany is in my group, and France and Italy are not in the top tier. Although France will be next year, but will you, Japan? We'll find out. We will find out very soon. But in terms of these games, I feel Japan, gave us their worst performance yet. And statistically, it is their worst performance because they finished 9th. Their worst performance before that was 7th place, but I can't remember which year it was. They've roughly, in previous Olympics, have finished either 6th or 7th, even back in 1998, when obviously women's hockey was played for the first time in the Olympics and Japan hosted it. So they've normally in the past they've done quite well themselves. They've normally done in the past Japan have normally had very respectful finishes, so 6th or 7th place. Whereas this year, I don't think you can say 9th place is respectable. In fact, no, you definitely cannot say 9th place is respectable, because that's basically just one from last. That really is what it is. It's only one from the bottom, and to be scored like 7 goals is really, that's really bad. That is just like bad. Oh my god. Answer on a postcard, guys. Answer on a postcard, please. Answer on a postcard. That is really bad. That's really bad for Japan. Because this team normally finds a way to get into the quarters and then bows up there very graciously. Whereas this time, they didn't get to that. And there's just no fight in them. There was no attack. There was no aggression. There was no determination. And it was pitiable. Even in that game against Italy, when they got that goal back, they cut the deficit down, it was like, oh, okay, well, we've at least got one. We can go home now. No, you can't. There's still a lot of time on the board. If you want to get to quarters, you've got to get past Italy. You've got to beat Italy. Don't let Italy get 2 or 3 points, because that will help them rather than you. But oh god, Japan handled these games poorly. They really did. They really did handle these games so poorly. It just shows, is their luck running out? You know? Because there's no guarantee every time you'll be back on the Olympic stage. We look at Italy. They had this is their second in 20 years. So for Japan, do we think their luck's starting to run out? And I think this year's World Championships will be interesting and help as an indicator to that. Because if they play like that again in Denmark in November, then you definitely are on your way to bowing out and going straight into Division 1A. Okay? Because I just can't see Japan really carrying on the way they are and still thinking that they can just stay in the top tier, stay as an Olympic qualifier like that. Japan, you are staying with the big dogs. You've got to seriously go look in the mirror. Seriously go look in the mirror, because that performance from Locotia is your worst ever. And we all could see it. We all could see how woeful, pitiful, I've got more. We could all see what a disaster that was. We all could see it. We all could see it. We all could see how bad of a performance that was for the Japanese. We all saw it. We all saw it. We all saw it with our own eyes. So Japan, if you really do want to stay in the top tier with us, if you want to still be seen as a top compared team, you know, then you've got to really think on. You need to look what happened in Milan Cortina, go away, and work out what mistakes were made, what lessons need to be learned from it, and just work out how you're going to get better. Go forward. Yeah, because if you do not want another dry spell, then that can happen. Because Japan's only been in 5 games. Japan's only been in 5 Olympics. Obviously, they hosted the first one back in 1998. But then they went away. They were out for 3... Yeah, they were out for 3 straight games after that. They were not there in 2002 or 2006 or even my first games in 2010. But since 2014, they have found a way to be a Olympic qualifier year cycle in, cycle out. But how long can they keep doing that? I don't know. I feel with Japan. I feel like that, like, their luck is starting to run out, and these games was the first sign of that. So if Japan doesn't pull themselves together, then they could be on the way out. And it would be very interesting to see which team, which nation would come in and replace them. So, because there's quite a few nations who would definitely feel that they have got a shout to get to the Olympics, but Japan's literally standing in their way. So we'll see how it goes. But I just feel Japan, your luck's running out, guys. seriously, your luck is running out, and I just feel it was a pitiful game for them. It really was. We know Japan is capable of so much more. We know Japan's better than that. We just know. We absolutely know. Okay, so that is going to conclude this report card for Team Japan. Not their best, not their finest hour, as we would say. Not their finest hour. Their worst ever performance in the Olympics. Period. But literally, period. It's their worst performance ever. So not their finest hour. And if you want to stay in the Olympics, you're going to find ways to do better than that. You're going to find better ways to do it than that. Okay, so that's going to be all for Team Japan. And until next time, take care and ciao for now.